Hi everyone, thanks for watching. You can support our work on our website ageoftruthtv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, BitChute and Brighteon. And remember to hit the bell for notifications. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. To be sure not to miss any of our shows, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website ageoftruthtv.
Hello, Cathy. Hey.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. A lot. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Absolutely, perfect. Then if all the technical stuff is working, that's always a good start.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get in. I was concerned that I had some problems, but it looks like we're good. We did it.
It's a good start. Yeah, and a nice picture you have there. That's great. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate
Logan?
it. Yeah, Lauge. Yes, it's a Danish
Laugen?
name. So. Yes, that's
Laugen.
Right. Yes,
Okay,
Lauge. Exactly. Very Danish name, so it's not so easy.
I am just assuming this is the perfect opportunity, and yeah, this is going to be great.
Just hold on for a second. I'll just turn on the camera for the studio.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Age of Truth TV. I'm Lucas Alexander in Copenhagen, Denmark. And our special guest today is a remarkable and rather legendary lady in the truth community. She was one of the first to ever come out publicly and speak on trauma-based MK Ultra mind control. She is a victim of MK Ultra herself and a survivor of satanic ritual abuse. She is a successful author of the books Trance-Formation of America and Access Denied for Reasons of National Security. Her story is controversial and remarkable, and we are thrilled to welcome on the show Cathy O Brien. Good evening from Copenhagen, Denmark, and welcome to Age of Truth TV. Please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We have a most extraordinary and fascinating show for you today with a remarkable lady that we wanted to have on for a very long time. Her story is rather legendary for a lot of people in the truth movement, but maybe some people haven't heard the story yet, so we're going to go really in depth today. And it's so fascinating to go over the pond, over the ocean to the eastern part of the United States and welcome on the show, Cathy O Brien. Hey, Cathy, it's so wonderful to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and bring truth to light.
All of the people that know you know, of course, your story quite a bit. But maybe we will introduce you to a new audience. You are a successful author of the books Trance-Formation of America and Access Denied for Reasons of National Security. And of course, you are a former MK Ultra mind control victim and a survivor of satanic ritual abuse. And I know that you're quite used to talking about all of these horrendous things that happened to you. You were one of the first people to come out and speak on this topic publicly. All the way, I mean, back in '95, I think your book came out with Mark Phillips, and there are videos with you from that time, and certainly a long sort of testimonial from '96 that people can also watch. But Cathy, we really want to talk about this and go in depth, because I know you're very thorough and your books are quite remarkable. So please tell the audience a little bit, first of all, about your background, then we go really deep into it and that remarkable life story.
Yes, wow. Well, I'm a survivor of CIA, MK Ultra mind control. I was used at a White House, Pentagon level. I was deep in the Washington, D.C. swamp among perpetrators who steal elections for ushering in a globalist agenda that they are funding with drug and human trafficking across open borders. This has been going on my whole life, and I've been speaking out on it now for over 35 years on mind control and healing from it, because this mind control agenda that is being pushed is for ushering in what Adolf Hitler, George Bush, and Joe Biden, and all these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders that are sitting at the top of all this. Follow the money. We go right to them, the same ones over and over again. But that all those people are using mind control to usher in this new world order. And of course, they call it other things too, Great Reset, and who knows what else. They'll use any title. The point's the same. The point is they need a compliant global society, and mind control is being used to bring about that compliance in humanity, because the formula for mind control is the same, whether it's of an individual, a nation, a classroom, or the world. And trauma is the basis of it. It had been found through Hitler-Himmler research. There's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. This formula for mind control, this information on mind control, came into the US in the wake of World War II, when we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the US with Project Paperclip. People can research that for themselves, and they'll see that with them came the formula for mind control. And it was kept secret under national security, through secret societies like the Masons, and through secret organizational meetings like we see happening with these global meetings where they decide the fate of nations and ultimately all humanity based on using mind control to whoop us into compliance. But knowledge is our defense against mind control. And it is a truth that makes us free. So, that's the knowledge we want to bring to light, so people start recognizing mind control around them and not complying anymore when global traumas happen, like mind control masked as a virus that was unleashed on the global population 2020 for bringing about this globalist agenda. Well, it's spinning out of control now. With that, according to them, they said that the New World Order is done with the election of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump refuses to comply with the globalist agenda and believes in personal and national sovereignty. And therefore, they said it's over. But that was also said in World War II, and we just brought it to the US. So, I'm not believing it. We just need to all become aware and know what to look for. So hopefully by sharing my story and how I healed, everyone, everywhere will be armed with this truth that makes us free.
Absolutely, and we want to go into those because you are known to name names. You actually did that even 30 years ago and all that. So we're going to go into that as well, and this is so fascinating. And this is one of the most profound and amazing accounts of what actually is going on behind the scenes. Of course, your story is horrendous. It's outrageous for people who's never heard about this. Of course, we've talked about this for a lot in this show and had a lot of survivors on as well. But I mean, your stories sort of stand out because you became rather famous because of this, or well, infamous, I guess, to them. But in these circles, in the truth community, you've been sort of a beacon of light in a way, and that's why it's so wonderful that you keep on talking about it and you're doing all these interviews. But I mean, take us back to the early days. You were born in 1957, so it's a lot of years where you were an actual victim of the original MK Ultra program that was done by the CIA, which is trauma based. And since your early childhood, you were sexually abused by your father, who also sold you to various high-profile politicians and dignitaries, and got you into the CIA MK Ultra Project Monarch sex and governmental slave program. And you were trafficked and both sold and passed around and used by international pedophile rings, the drug cartel, politicians, royalty, and the bloodline Satanist. But I mean, take us through what happened to you as a child, your father, and I mean, what a lot of people won't be able to comprehend what that's all about. That's really horrible. And then he sold you to a very famous former president. But please tell the audience how it all began.
Well, it's important to understand that this has been going on a long time. And as people are waking up to the pedophile agenda and realizing the pedophile agenda is a mind control agenda, we need to realize that what we're seeing isn't new. What's new is that we're finally seeing it. And it has taken a lifetime for that to happen. And I'm so thrilled now to see people waking up to face the truth so that no child will have to endure what I did. My father's side was, I was born into a multi-generational incest-based family. And my father was sexually abused and ritually abused. My mother was sexually abused and trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, where the secrets on mind control were kept. And my father was sexually abusing me. I was just an infant. I didn't know what he was doing was wrong, but my brain knew that I was experiencing the pain and suffocation of his abuse, and therefore shut down neuron pathways in my brain around that traumatic event, shoved it deep into the subconscious where the memory is repressed. And this is called the mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend. It's our natural mind-brain function. It's what happens when we experience trauma. So that trauma, those neuron pathways shut down around it, so the rest of my mind could develop and function normally. Well, my father's sexual abuse extended into making child pornography of me, and that created more compartmentalization, shut down more neuron pathways in my brain. And as more and more neuron pathways shut down, suggestibility is heightened. There's no conscious mind filter, and the subconscious just takes information in without any question, reason, logic, anything else. It's just, information in. When we understand the importance of our conscious mind filter, we'll be more mindful of protecting it when national and global and personal traumas occur, because that causes our conscious mind to freeze in fright, leaves our subconscious wide open to being easily led and manipulated. And my conscious mind was shutting down from all the abuse that I was experiencing. My father was also trafficking to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, where all the local politicians and law enforcement were hanging out. And I was being prostituted to them. And my father was caught sending child pornography of me through the U.S. mails. This was like 1960. And it shows he was given immunity from prosecution if he would agree to sell me into the CIA's MK Ultra mind control project. He did. Our corrupt system has been in place for a long time. The justice systems on a global scale have been manipulated to allow for the proliferation of pedophilia because, again, it's a mind control agenda. It's intended to create a more compliant society. And what I was experiencing was just one horrific aspect of it. My father sold me into the project, and the local politician who granted him immunity from prosecution is one I had been trafficked to since a little itty bitty toddler. And he was a local politician at the time. It was Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford went on to become the unelected president of the United States. As his political career escalated, so too did my victimization in MK Ultra mind control.
So Gerald Ford was actually, let's say, part of these satanic circles.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're involved in satanic ritual abuse or anything that could be used as a trauma so horrific on the human mind that it causes a robotic compliance. So very often, people who are involved in satanic ritual abuse are doing it for control purposes. The pedophilia is not a sexual preference. It is a power control over little children that will last a lifetime when their brains are manipulated and suggestibility heightened, so that creates a compliance throughout their lifetime, unless they realize what in the world has been going on and deal with repressed memory and heal from their issues. And, no matter what life throws on us, it's within us to heal. So, and I'm living proof of that after what I experienced. And that's the encouraging part. But the information on our mind-brain function and how to heal was suppressed from mental health, from the education system, from the medical system, from society as a whole. And that information was being deliberately withheld so that we wouldn't have our birthright knowledge that is our defense against mind control. Instead, humanity was conditioned for generations to look outside themselves, to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult religion to tell them how to live their lives. People gave away their own power, forgetting what is within us. And that's an important aspect of this long-range plan that has been in place for ushering in this new world order. And it's something that we all need to consider, is that Project Monarch was a multi-generational sub-project of MK Ultra. And that's because it had been found in the Hitler-Himmler research that after 3 generations, any knowledge base, abuse base, or belief system becomes autogenic in the brain. It's passed down genetically. We're born with a propensity for that kind of activity. So it would take generations to condition people to accept this adverse, contrary, pedophile agenda, to accept the satanic ritual abuse that's being inflicted on our children, to accept this human trafficking and this child sex trafficking and these blackmail pedophile networks that have been going on for so long. But it was conditioned that way, as people were also conditioned to give away their power. So when we understand that multi-generational aspect, we also realize that soul is stronger than genetics. No matter what we inherited, when we live the love we are, true to soul, live our life's purpose, know who we are and why we are here, we can overcome anything. So that's a great bit of information going forward. And, people need to begin to reevaluate their values, reprioritize priorities, and expand their thinking beyond what they think they know, because our knowledge base has been altered a long, long time.
Absolutely. So right, everything you said there. But also, I mean, going back to that, Gerald Ford at that time was a senator or governor or whatever he was. But I mean, this would have been in your early childhood. So
Yeah.
this is in the beginning of the 60s. Did he already know that he was going to be president years later?
He knew that he was complying with a globalist agenda, and he was in a position to be able to manipulate other people, blackmail people, and rise in his own climb to power. So it was more from that direction. And Gerald Ford decided that after my father sold me into the project, that I would be trafficked to Mackinac Island, Michigan. Mackinac Island, Michigan was the Epstein Island of its time, the Bohemian Grove, the Diddy Party, whatever we want to call it. It was where the blackmail tapes were being used all the way back then. That was back when they were big reel-to-reel videos. But nevertheless, these perpetrators of the slave society agenda do not trust each other either. So they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. And if someone is not cooperating with their agenda, then they can use the blackmail, they can coerce, they can threaten families' lives, they can buy people off. There's different ways that they take control over people in positions of power. And that was all being discussed and put into place heavily in Mackinac Island, Michigan, when I was just a little bitty toddler. By the time I was 9 years old, I was trafficked to Pierre Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau's father. Pierre Trudeau is a master of MK Ultra mind control of individuals and nations, and absolutely used the pedophile agenda to further creating a compliant society. It was also in Mackinac Island, Michigan, that I would meet who would become my owner in MK Ultra mind control, and that was U.S. Senator Robert C. Byrd. Senator Byrd was in office for over 50 years in the United States, in the highest positions of influence and power, held the country's purse strings. He decided where money was going to be spent, and really used that to further this globalist agenda that he was so much a part of. So Gerald Ford was really interconnected right from the get-go. The governor of Michigan at the time was George Romney. That's Mitt Romney's father. Mitt Romney is very prominent here in the U.S. and has affiliations within both the Catholic and the Mormon Church for mind control purposes. So, we start seeing a multi-generational aspect right there within these bloodlines, within these people in positions of power. And that's what it's all about. They want to keep their agenda going through the generations. So that was something that I experienced and was exposed to very, very early on. And know that Gerald Ford was more than compliant with.
Well, you said that they're not really maybe, well, pedophiles, but they use it for mind control purposes and for control. But don't you think they are? I mean, why are they creating these mind control slaves and Project Monarch? And please also tell the audience, what is the difference between Project Monarch and, let's say, ordinary, there's no ordinary, that's a wrong
Right.
word, but MK Ultra, which is like the umbrella term, right? I mean, there's a lot of subgroups and projects there. And why are they using the children to do what?
Yeah, the mind control is a sliding scale from the kind of torturous, systematic, robotic mind control I experienced to information control. Because We all formulate our thoughts and opinions, our perceptions, ultimately our actions based on what we know. And we need to know that knowledge base has been deliberately altered for a long, long time. So this sliding scale has reached into many aspects of society. I think the whole world experienced an aspect of it through Mind Control Masters 2020. That has certainly put our world in a lot of disharmony, division, misinformation, fear, trauma, and war. You know, we're sitting on the brink of war because that's these perpetrators will go to any length to have people be more compliant. They also had decided that if people weren't being compliant enough, they would need to reduce our numbers to a much more manageable size. And that was something that George Bush discussed at Bohemian Grove. And it's in my 1995 testimony for Congress, Trance-Formation of America. So, you know, we need to understand that the depopulation agenda is very much a part of this New World Order agenda. One of the very first aspects of the depopulation agenda in the United States was when Gerald Ford was president. He and Henry Kissinger put it together, and that's public knowledge. People can research that for themselves. So, you know, Gerald Ford has been affiliated with this handful of puppet masters for a long, long time. And the more we know, the more we see it's the same ones over and over and over again.
Could you just address what the difference is between Project Monarch and MK Ultra and the other projects?
Well, in many ways, the line is blurred now after all these generations. But Monarch was a multi-generational aspect of MK Ultra. It was where children who had been abused, you know, that have a history of abuse going up. You know, like I said, my father had been abused and my mother had been abused. And, you know, it just goes up the generations. After 3 generations, a baby is born more compliant already. So the kind of mind manipulation of shutting down neuron pathways in the brain eventually becomes more inherent. That is what they were doing with me. And so I was already suggestible, but then they added all the trauma and the systematic formula for mind control, MK Ultra, on top of that, made a very powerful form of mind control. Likewise, they're doing that to the whole global population through generations. That's why this has been going on since World War II. We didn't win World War II. War, as far as I'm concerned, is still going on until people wake up and refuse to comply with this globalist slave society agenda anymore. And it begins with free thought. So this is a very important time for us to understand we have been manipulated for generations. It has become inherent. We are more compliant, but it doesn't stop the fact that we still have within us the ability to overcome it. Because as I said earlier, soul is stronger than genetics. And that is what these perpetrators that I've been around fear the most, is the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love, because they know that is such a high vibration. That is just, it's way beyond their reach. And they can't stop it. They can't do anything except manipulate our minds to stop us from thinking to access it. I know from my experience that without free thought, there's no free will. With no free will, there's no soul expression. Without soul expression, we lose our moral compass. We lose our ability to unite with each other with compassion. We lose our ability to gather our strength of human spirit and that infinite power of love, to live our life's purpose, to remember who we are and why we're here. So mind control is their way of suppressing our ability to think, to access our strength. When we have our strength, we realize we've had all the power all along. They only have as much power as we give them or let them steal.
Of course, we're all exposed to collective mind control through the media, the educational system, and
Yes.
everything else, basically. But this was personal trauma-based mind control that you went through, and you went through torture and lots of things. Maybe you can tell the audience a little bit about what you went through, but why? And you also say, I mean, what do they use them for? I mean, these slaves, and I mean, it was for sexual favors, right? And for espionage and things like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And in my case, I had mentioned how the neuron pathways of the brain shut down and repress memory, and then more neuron pathways shut down and repress, and more and more of those those neuron pathways shut down, they can only be triggered or opened by a recurrence of that abuse. That's how it starts out. So the part of me that dealt with my father's sexual abuse, that part of my brain would open up to deal with his abuse again and again as needed. And that kind of compartmentalization of being triggered open that way, they thought, these perpetrators thought, what better place to hide government secrets than in the mind of someone who can't think to bring it to mind until it's triggered. And then they replace the triggers with a verbal command or a hand signal or harmonic tone, different ways of being able to activate the programming that they put in place in those repressed subconscious parts of the brain. So that is
used for that as well, for
yes.
espionage and for keeping government secrets and passing it around to
Yeah.
different leaders and officials, or was it just for sex?
It was for both, because it would be in sexual situations or compromising situations. And there would also be messages passed to and from government leaders. Many of those operations that I had been forced to participate in are detailed in my testimony for Congress, Trance-Formation of America. And people can read it. It's available. I've secured the integrity of that information, because we all have a right to know and a need to know what in the world has really been going on. We have been fighting wars for reasons that completely different from what we're led to believe. We're manipulated on so many levels, and we need to realize that has been deliberately put in place for generations. So, this opening of neuron pathways, this great awakening that's happening on a global scale, is ultimately the saving grace of humanity, because as we reclaim our free thought, our free will, soul expression, our strength, this spirit, that infinite power of love, it's game over, because these perpetrators are a very low vibration, dark, negative energy force. We need to realize we share this planet with people who are not like us and do not like us. And they need to keep our vibration low so they have something to feed off. They feed off of negativity, fear, hatred, division, trauma. That's their vibration. They want to keep us down there. When, in fact, when we are living the love we are freely and accessing that, our vibration is so high they can't even reach us. That would be like darkness creeping in on our light. It doesn't work that way. They can't reach us. So that's why they try to keep us suppressed. When we refuse to comply with that anymore, then it's game over. In so many ways, this mind control is a spiritual battle when you look at it from that perspective. And ultimately we win, because love is the most powerful force in the universe, and they know that. They're
And we're
scared of
looking
that.
forward to win as well, because it's about time, right? You've been
Yeah.
doing it for so many years. We've been doing it since, well, I woke up in 2005, so it's a long time ago, and we've been doing this since 2011. We've seen a mass awakening in those years, but still, of course, we would like more people to wake up, and things are happening at the moment, but they're also tightening the grip on the let's say the global
Yes.
population, which is absolutely horrible with all of these extreme measures that they've been doing in the past just few years, but actually for a long time. And 9/11 was a huge
Yes.
milestone in their agenda as well. But I mean, when you talk about these people in the high echelon and the elite circles, were they specifically selected because they were pedophiles, or did they have to perform these sexual acts? Did they have to do these, take part in these satanic rituals, or were they all? Did they all come from these satanic families, these multi-generational families? Or, I mean, how do they select these government officials? I'm not talking about ordinary politicians and stuff like that, but those in the higher up.
They're definitely keeping it in families and in bloodlines, but they're different from us, and they want to control everything and everybody. I don't understand that kind of need for power. I don't know. I don't understand it, other than the fact that they need to keep our vibration low so they can feed off it. That's how they're like energy vampires in that regard. The Satanism that they use, evil by any other name, however we want to look at it. The occult aspect of it is such a horrific trauma on the human mind that's one that they gravitate to without necessarily believing in Satan per se, as much as they believe in the power of being able to negatively impact the human mind with that trauma. So, evil by any other name, but it's not like they worship that so much as they worship themselves, and think, well, I got to have all the power. I'm the ultimate, and it just, I don't get it. They're just, like I said, they're not like us and they don't like us.
There's a dog there going wild.
Oh my gosh. He is my babe, man. He is so good. And, I'm in this rural area and nobody ever comes up as somebody just came up to the door.
Oh, that's the reason.
Yeah, it was a water company or something looking for a busted pipe. And so he was just going wild. Anyway, I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, that's just wonderful. That's great. No problem. We're talking about these satanic rituals and that all of these selected people are part of that. And certainly, of course, these members of the Illuminati bloodlines we've heard about, and all these, royalty and presidents, prime ministers, and all of that. So you're saying that they're not actually all of them Satanists, but they have to take part in these rituals. But I mean, what is happening at those rituals? Do they actually summon a deity or Satan? What have you experienced?
It's not that they summon a deity. It's just that they unleash their own power over the victim and create false illusions of anything that makes us feel helpless, anything that makes us feel like we're dealing with something more powerful than us, whether it be demonic or alien or whatever theme they want to project. They manipulate the subconscious mind, again, that has no ability to reason or question or critically analyze. And then they take that and use that as a means of control. And, a means, it is mean what they do, and it's horrific.
Some former mind control slaves and people have talked about, former Satanists who have been in these circles, have talked about seeing a deity or some kind of demonic figure that, like, they're summoning the devil.
There are illusions that are created in the mind, and I'm not saying that what I experienced is what everyone experiences, but it was never my experience to have any of the demonic, possession, only the illusion of, to make me feel helpless, or the reptilian alien thing, whatever, was only to go into the most primitive fear in the human mind of reptiles, because that's been our survival mechanism forever.
They are like possessed by a reptilian being. That's what you've talked about it, even because you've seen George Bush shapeshift, and a lot some other people you've talked about that, and also David Icke. You spoke to him very early on when he came out and exposed that whole reptilian agenda, and lots of these other mind control slaves have been talking about this. What do you think about that and the alien aspect of it?
I think the whole alien aspect of it is going to be a phenomenal thing for humanity to find, and realize that if it's fear-based, it's being used as a manipulation against us. And the reptilian one was definitely a theme used against us. And George Bush did not shapeshift. It was a holographic illusion that that equipment's been around forever. And I know we're going to be seeing a whole lot of the holographic illusions. So we need to realize that technology exists in order to generate fear and manipulate people.
So tell people what you experience and what that technology is. How is it projected? How is it done? And do you think it couldn't have been him actually shape-shifting like a lot of people have talked about? Because we are kind of holographic in structure, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there is so much more to discuss and look into, but in my experience, the reality of George Bush, he was talking about like at Bohemian Grove, they were talking about aliens. The guys were, and he said they are us in the future. So he was talking more in terms of time travel, that the future technology, the future knowledge is something that we can bring into today. So the time manipulation and dimensional manipulations that I've heard discussed are more realistic than creating a holographic illusion of kind of a three-dimensional alien. I think there's really a lot more to it than all of that. And I know for sure what I experienced was holographic. It was at the White House. The technology was there. And it was placed just right for, it's silly in retrospect. And yet the holographic aspect is not needed when the subconscious mind is manipulated to perceive that. So, in my healing process, I learned to deprogram the program first, and I would hear the voices of my programmers setting the stage, so to speak, and creating this setup of illusions. When memory is recalled accurately, it's photographic in detail, and my photographic recall on that is an absolute accuracy. And for me, knowing exactly what my life's experience was and what it entailed, having had my primary MK Ultra mind control programmer being Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino of the Temple of Set, he didn't believe in a satanic deity. He didn't summon any of that. Instead, he manipulated my mind into absolute terror. And more dramatic than that, I think, is the whole concept of a blood ritual and the thought of any animal or any child or any person being murdered, and any traumatic situation. That this was taken from the whole satanic ritual, where they would drink the blood or whatever, and they found that adrenalized blood had the adrenochrome in it. And then that became an absolute business in itself. So then this dark negative energy force perpetrators that literally feed off of low vibration were literally feeding off of the terror traumatized blood. So to me, that is so beyond evil. That is so much more than creating an illusion of a demon. That is
But I mean,
more
certainly that's
demonic.
absolutely horrendous, and everybody who's been through that has talked about it.
Yeah.
Very similar stories like you. But what do you say to all those people who talk about this alien aspect and the reptilians and the fact that they can shapeshift and take another form in order to disguise themselves, not being a human and just a hologram in order to scare mind control slaves, but because they are hiding behind a human veil or some kind of veil to disguise who they really are. This is what David Icke is talking about. There was another mind control victim that he very famously interviewed at the same time he interviewed you, I think. Arizona Wilder, Jennifer Green, I think her real name was. Did you ever meet her? And she really talked about seeing all of these people shapeshift at the at those rituals, and I think he had a lot of people in his books at the time.
I think there's a whole lot of people who have experienced alien themed programming and have healed to varying degrees. And just because my experience was one thing, I am not going to discredit anyone else's testimony, because there's so much more to life than any of us know. There's always more to learn and expand into. But I can only talk from my perspective and my life's experience, which I think is a very important piece of the puzzle, so that we all learn that we are being manipulated on a level of our most primitive fear. Again, fear and trauma are the basis of mind control.
But it's
So,
so important that we address this because it's
yes,
so interesting to hear your perspective on this because we've talked to a lot of people who talk about the alien aspect of it as well. But it's very interesting because you were very deeply into it. You're very known for this, for having gone through all of this. So you are an authority on the topic and on the subject. And it's interesting that you've not had the experience, although you did see George Bush. And what was the name of that guy from, was he from Mexico? Miguel something, Della, whatever. What was the
oh,
name? You also saw him
De La
kind of,
Madrid.
yes.
Yeah, there. Well, the thing, the things that I experienced, what I think intelligence insider Mark Phillips, who, lifted me out of the Washington, D.C. swamp and handed me keys to healing, always had said that how something is remembered is more important than what is remembered, because how it is remembered will get to the root of deprogramming the program and opening the neuron pathways in the brain. If it's just someone voicing their fear and their trauma, it doesn't open neuron pathways back up in the brain. And sometimes it just re-traumatizes that much more, including other people around them. So the fear spreads. And that's what they're wanting people to do, is spread the fear. Because if we do that, then people feel helpless, as though it's beyond their realm to affect. In fact, all of this is within our realm to affect. And we need to stop this this globalist puppet master slave society agenda and realize the truth that makes us free. Because as far as I see it, we have so much more to explore in this amazing life we live. Let's look into the time travel, the dimensions, those alien aspects, the belief that there really could be intelligent life out there, more intelligent than us, that knows better than this nonsense. The very thought that maybe they're angels of old, or, maybe, these evil, dark, negative beings are demonic, whatever labels they are, we got to get beyond the semantics and start expanding our thinking into all possibility, because there's so much and it's so exciting. And I can't wait to get to that part. But right now, people got to get through this curve, and it has to be factored into the equation that the military has used the alien and demonic themes very deliberately, that the CIA has used it, that the FBI, that these global, self-appointed, self-anointed leaders have used it, that the Jesuits have used it. The Catholic Church has been involved in this for such a long, 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 long time. Ever since the day of the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition, when they found out the effects of trauma on the human mind, and the spoils of war were the little children that they put in the Catholic orphanages, and they were highly suggestible from the trauma that they experienced, and the Catholics learned all that. Then they added the satanic aspect to it. Not all Catholics. I'm not saying all Catholics are bad. There's good and bad in everything, but whoa, they definitely were part of this satanic agenda. They aligned with the CIA. The Jesuit CIA alliance was the New World Order of the Rose. That's in my testimony. It's very, very powerful to understand how they used what they learned about trauma on the human mind.
And the Vatican is, of course, heavily involved. We know that.
Yes.
But I was just going to ask you about what you just said. I mean, that the government and the CIA and all these secret societies, they have used the alien extraterrestrial
Yes.
agenda idea to also create some kind of fear or hope or illusion or whatever. So, but I mean, we've had a lot of ET and alien UFO researchers on the show as well. They've talked about all of their experiences. But do you think that a lot of this is fabricated in order to create illusions, or do you think it's real? I mean, do you believe in extraterrestrial life? Or what?
Absolutely, I do. But right now, if it's fear-based, it needs to be re-examined because ultimately, right now, we're seeing technology that has been kept secret for generations. Anything kept secret that long is going to look alien to us. And so now the US is just covered up with these drones. What are they doing? Where are they from? Whose are they? What is it from the military? We need to know what it really is instead of having this big, dramatic illusion. It's aliens, it's over. Everybody cave in and, do as you're told. We don't need to do that.
You know about the alien agenda, huh?
Yeah. Well, this has been a plan for a long time.
And did you hear about that when you were in the program?
Yeah, that they would use the alien agenda as the last card they were going to play or whatever. They'd already played the satanic one. I mean, that was disgusting being bombarded the last 4 years with nonstop satanic images, the blood traumas, the horror that has been put out there. It's very difficult for anyone, but especially ritual abuse survivors to have to look at that and have that in their face all the time, be told that it's okay. And then to see someone like Hunter Biden, who is so involved in the pedophilia and the horrific aspects of things, to be pardoned. Someone like Hillary Clinton, who's been involved in satanic ritual abuse and human trafficking and child sex trafficking all these years, still going free despite all the evidence. We need to see some justice. We don't need to just throw it away even further by saying, oh, the aliens are here now. Let's just all cave in and give up. No, that's not it. This is our time to shine. This is our time to gather the strength of spirit, to use our free thought, free will, to expand our thinking beyond what we think we know. Our brains are capable of so much. Like Mark Phillips always said, wisdom outthinks their criminal minds every time, because criminal minds are linear. They're really flat. They don't have the soul. They don't have the depth and the wisdom and the capacity for all of that. Same thing with artificial intelligence. We can outthink it with wisdom, but it takes the strength of the human spirit. We need to have our soul expression. We need to be able to move forward with that aspect of things and not be held back further by fear mongering that tells us it's beyond our realm to affect.
But I mean,
it's all within our
this
realm.
whole AI thing now, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, this is like what they want to kind of link us to this super brain computer. I mean, and it's almost like do you think our thoughts are real? Is this being like beamed into our brain, like this voice to skull technique that they've had for a long time, obviously. But I mean, AI is totally sophisticated. You think about something and then it like appears on your screen or on
Yeah,
social media.
yeah,
And this is like, and even people who have not been that linked to it by whatever medical, whatever they took or whatever happened. But I mean,
yeah.
your thoughts on this? You know, it happens. We're thinking about something and it appears.
Oh, yeah. I mean, artificial intelligence has been real since the 80s that I know of. And I absolutely believe that that there has been a huge, dark, negative evil that has been brought over us for a long time. Because when we remember who we are and why we're here, that whole spiritual aspect, it's game over. I'm telling you, we win, they lose. And
But we
it's
still
why,
want to see that, right, Kathy? I mean, we really want to see them lose and the rest of us win. We're a lot of people that are awake now, and a lot of us have been
yes,
working hard on, this awakening and waking people up
yeah.
for a long time. But do we really see the change that is needed to stop the New World Order agenda?
There's so many of us awake and aware now. We've reached critical mass, and we've passed the point. We are the majority. We've got this, but we need to realize it, and that is a big part of the awakening is for people to um, take control of their own lives, and it's happening more and more. I'm seeing people all over the world are reclaiming their own lives, shutting off their devices, getting out in their communities, talking to each other, eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul, making a difference right in their own backyard, renourishing the soil so they can grow nutritious food. Our brains have been deliberately starved of nutrients to make us more compliant. That's why our food has been tainted. But we're taking that back. And we're going to make sure that we get proper nutrition to our brains. There's so many aspects of society that people are reclaiming at this point. And it's almost like coming full circle, going back to the wisdom of the ancients, the indigenous people, cherishing the beauty of our planet and each other, and honoring the children and honoring the elderly. It's beautiful seeing this come around in this way. And yet it's like a concentric circle. We have a lot more to add to it now as it comes back around. We have got the artificial intelligence. We have infinite possibilities to be exploring on alien and intelligence and intelligence life out there. We've got so much more to be exploring.
Do you think we can prevent being linked to AI and that thought
Absolutely.
being captured by this dark spell, which it actually is, right?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely think we can do that because it's realizing our own power and keeping our vibration high. Doesn't matter if we're being attacked with a technological or, what aspect of outside influence. What we have within us is stronger. As long as we emit that and emit love, we're not taking stuff in. You know what I mean? It's kind of perceptual to state it that way. And yet, life's experience has definitely shown me the truth of that. Not only that, but the people that I was around, the Bushes and the Clintons and on and on. Those people fear that will remember that will remember our power.
Well, as I said earlier, you're not afraid of naming names. You did that from the
No.
beginning. I have a little list of names here, and if I mention them, perhaps you can let our audience and myself know what first comes to mind, or when you hear these names, maybe you had some personal experiences with them, and it would be so interesting because I think you talked a lot about that in the book. You just mentioned the Clintons, so can we start with them, Bill and Hillary?
Well, I think it would go back to when my father sold me into MK Ultra. He was immediately flown to Boston, Massachusetts, where he was trained by Cardinal Law. of the infamous Catholic child abuse scandal, how to raise me in the project. And I started being exposed to horrific satanic ritual abuse then. And my first handler was a guy named Wayne Cox. He was an occult serial killer, CIA assassin, and he worked for the Clintons in Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations. But Wayne Cox worked for Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations, and he also ran a satanic cult. In that satanic cult was Roger Clinton, who was a half-brother of Bill Clinton. He was very much involved in the satanic aspect. And together they were running the precursor to adrenochrome, the traumatized blood of the satanic victims, into the CIA's cocaine operations through Hillary Clinton's satanic aspect of it, her human trafficking, and just horrible aspect of things. So my first introduction to the Clintons was in 1977 when I was sent to the backwoods of Louisiana with Wayne Cox, where I started working the Clinton cocaine and satanic operations. So I was programmed and forced to do that. It was extremely traumatizing, and it definitely set the stage for me being used on a White House Pentagon level later on, because it was so horrific. I became totally robotic and could only do exactly what I was tortured and programmed to do. So the satanic aspect had a strong impact on me all the way back then. And the CIA's cocaine operations across the open borders quickly expanded into human trafficking as well. And the Clintons were just very much a part of all of that aspect.
And did they also abuse you sexually?
Yes.
Or were they under mind control themselves?
No. No, not at all. But they did sexually abuse me. My daughter has her own reports of what she experienced as a child. But the Clintons, absolutely horrific. I had more experience with Hillary Clinton, especially in the mid 80s and later years, than I did with Bill.
Can you address some of that, or tell us what happened with Hillary Clinton?
Well, it was a sexual situation. It's detailed in my testimony for Congress Trance-Formation of America. And it was very perverse and brutal in so many ways, because she's very inhumane in what she does. It's not a sexual relation. You know what I mean? It's not anything that has anything to do even with, I don't know, perversion even. It's all the power, the control, and absolute wicked, vile aspect of things is exactly what I experienced with her. With Bill Clinton, I experienced a different level of abuse, and his relationship with people like George Bush, and again, this globalist agenda spans party lines in the United States. It's not about Democrats and Republicans. That's an illusion to divide the people. It's who cooperates with the New World Order and who doesn't. So Bill Clinton and George Bush were very, very close friends. And Dick Cheney was right there among them all the time, absolutely brutal. And they would indulge in the most dangerous game of human hunting, where they would hunt people and use that as a trauma base for mind control. It's actually a military maneuver, training thing where they're used to manipulate people that way. So my experience with Bill Clinton was more on that end.
And were you part of the most dangerous game hunt?
Yeah, absolutely. I was since I was about 17 years old the first time when I was hunted at Dick Cheney's hunting lodge in Wyoming. And then I was hunted in later years at places like Swiss Villa Amphitheater in Lamping, Missouri, which was by Bill Clinton's Mina cocaine operations. So, yeah, that was something I was subjected to often. I was subjected to it at Mount Shasta, California, where I saw George Bush Jr. being hunted. George Bush Jr. was being groomed for the presidency. He was raised in MK Ultra. He was a total Manchurian candidate. His father and Dick Cheney ran his administration, like they have so many administrations here in the United States.
And yeah, and I've heard about that. And would you say that, well, if Hillary had been elected, not elected, well, selected maybe, would she, was she also part of running the Bill Clinton administration, do you think? Because she was actually more powerful than people thought. She was not just the first lady, right?
Right. And of course, George Bush and Dick Cheney were right there. They're a power behind the scene. We can go back to Gerald Ford's administration, because Gerald Ford headed the Warren Commission in the wake of the Kennedy assassination. The Kennedy assassination is when these globalists took control of the United States. That traumatized the nation, really the world, in so many ways. And they took a giant step forward in control at that time. In the wake of the Kennedy assassination, the United States got the electronic voting machines, and they were rigged since their inception. So they were placing key people in positions of authority through the rigged elections after that. Because Gerald Ford had covered up that Kennedy assassination, he was given the presidency. He was slipped into place. He was unelected. He went in. And when we look at his cabinet, we see he had George Bush to head the CIA. He had Dick Cheney. He had Donald Rumsfeld, who gave us aspartame, to that artificial sweetener that stops critical analysis. He had Henry Kissinger, who we all know is one of the self-anointed global puppet masters that has been part of the depopulation agenda.
Did you ever meet Kissinger and were exposed to?
Only peripherally. That was not like somebody that I was trafficked to or prostituted to. Nelson Rockefeller was in that administration. And then there was Jack Valenti, who was head of the Motion Picture Association of America. And as he decided what we'd see on our TVs, because we need to all, follow our media, follow the money. And it goes to the same handful of perpetrators over and over again. But I say this because these are the people that were in place all the way back with the Ford administration. They stayed in power behind the scene throughout every administration going forward, including and especially the Reagan administration. Because Ronald Reagan failed to comply with the New World Order, they decided they were going to eliminate him and replace him with a vice president. So right up to the midnight hour, they couldn't decide if they wanted George Bush to be vice president or Gerald Ford. They said, we already put Gerald Ford in once as president without an election. We can't do it twice, so people will catch on to it. So Bush would have to do it. Bush didn't want to do it because he had more power behind the scene. That's exactly where the power has been all these years, is with the Bushes and the Clintons and, the Kissingers and all behind the scene. That's been the power mechanism. But still, when the assassination attempt on Reagan didn't work, they still took control over his mind and his administration. And George Bush and Dick Cheney ran his administration. I don't know what Reagan would have chose to do had he been in control, but a lot of really bad things happened in his administration to the United States, selling us out completely to the New World Order, including our education system. And, again, the Clintons were heavily involved in all of this. They were heavily involved in the funding mechanism of drug and human trafficking across open borders. And I think that's a very important aspect to know, why they have not been prosecuted after all these years, all this evidence.
They'll never be prosecuted.
We need a system that isn't corrupted, that could actually do it. And I think the greatest thing that happened is that so many people were awake and aware in 2016 that they overrode the rigged electronic algorithm in the voting machines. And the
Really?
United States, yes, we overrode that rigged electronic algorithm to vote for anybody that wasn't Hillary Clinton and her New World Order. You can look at my 1995 testimony, and it lists everybody who was going to be put in the office of president through these rigged elections, right up until Hillary Clinton was supposed to have ushered it in 2016. And that was the plan. And a lot of people knew it, and a lot of people were against it. So the people in the United States said no more, and we elected Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I remember we were reporting on that at the time as well when she was against Trump, and we were thinking, oh no, he doesn't have a chance. Of course, it's Clinton and all that, and it was happening. The election was in November, right, in 2016.
Mhm.
But then when Trump went to visit Henry Kissinger in May 2016, that was the first time I said or thought, well, that's interesting because every time somebody gets close to Kissinger, I mean, then maybe he has a chance, and maybe he's being used for that as well. And of course, a lot of people in the truth, he was certainly used for a lot of people in the truth movement to think that now we have a savior. Now he's working behind the scenes to, get all the children out of the dumps and with the white hats and all of that. And what did we really see? I mean, he said a lot of things that inspired a lot of people in the truth movement. But they do that, well, ever so often if they need, to divide and conquer the Hegelian dialectic. We've seen that also with flat Earth and global Earth, whatever people believe in. I mean, it certainly is dividing people, and he did that as well. But he still did what he did during in the last 4 years. You know what I'm talking about, I think, what he also introduced to people during the lockdowns.
Well, I think that there's a lot more to consider, and we don't know what was, said to Henry Kissinger, but I do know that in my experience in MK Ultra, when I was used on a White House Pentagon level, I had a meeting in Atlantic City, New Jersey, for a high-level drug operation. And my handler left me off at the door of Trump's casino and told me that Trump is not one of us. And he said that if I saw him, I would be killed if I said anything to him. And it was discussed among the perpetrators that I was exposed to that Trump was absolutely against drug and human trafficking across the open borders. He was vehemently against MK Ultra mind control on all levels. He couldn't stand the child sex trafficking aspect of things, and worse, he couldn't be paid. He couldn't be blackmailed. He couldn't be compromised. He couldn't be coerced. He couldn't be paid off. Nothing. They feared him. They feared him horribly. So that was back in the 80s that they feared him then. They certainly feared him, but I think they feared the people. 2016, when so many of us overrode the rigged electronic algorithm. And the thing about President Trump is he cannot drain the swamp from the top down. It's up to the people to drain it.
I haven't really seen that, have we? A lot of people said that for years, also in our circles.
It's up to us. Yeah, we have to do our part.
Nothing really happened. We haven't seen any of that yet. I mean, maybe this is also smoke and mirrors and the illusion because of the awakening, the mass awakening, people waking up, questioning this, and it is a great tool, as we know, to divide the truth movement. So I mean, certainly it is being used, right? I mean, and then they could lead people astray. Maybe he was compromised, or I mean, you've said yourself, the government always gets in.
Well, not in that particular case. It's just there's nothing can be done in the system that is 100% totally corrupted. That it doesn't matter the amount of evidence there is against the Clintons. There's no justice system to prosecute them through. We've got a long way to go to clean things up, and it's up to the people to do it. And it begins in our own backyards on a global scale. It's up to all of us. This is like a spiritually evolutionary time. Ultimately, we take back our own power, and we don't need this big government telling us how to live our lives in any capacity
No,
whatsoever. So I tend to look at Donald Trump for what he did to wake up humanity, and certainly appreciate him exposing the child sex trafficking that's been going on my whole life, and the blackmail ops. I'm so happy people woke up to that, and positive change is happening.
Yeah, but he is still supporting Israel, right? And he's in bed with Netanyahu and all of that, and he also introduced whatever people took.
I don't know. I'm telling you, it's what he's done for humanity that I care about. Politically, I don't believe politics are going to solve any of our problems. I don't care who it is.
Was George Bush Sr. the worst one you encountered? The most
Yes.
dangerous one?
Yes. Yes. No question about it.
You also met royalty? Did you ever meet the Queen of England, or
No, I did not. Mm-mm. No. 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 George Bush was completely different. He didn't feel like a person. He didn't feel like there was anything soul-like about him in there. It just is more like an object. And I think that's something that we've got to consider. We talk about the alien aspect, whatever we want to call them, aliens, demons, whatever. They're not like us and do not like us, and they don't feel like us. I don't think they have a capacity for having their souls saved by, no, I don't think so. I don't think they have one. So it's a completely different thing going on that we all need to realize is happening on this planet, so that we start taking responsibility for our own lives. Mm-hmm. And that's something that now is happening even bigger in the United States, now that we have overrode that algorithm again. We didn't cave in to fear and mind control masters. They were shocked 2016 when President Trump was elected. By 2020, they were ready with mind control masters just blatantly steal elections right in front of all of the people while they sheltered at home and hid behind their masks.
Which is what they did with Biden, you mean?
Yeah, when Biden came in, they put Biden in. The first thing he did was open the borders, fling those borders back open to drug and human trafficking funding mechanism of this globalist agenda. So it's been quite a process. It's been a real nightmare here. No matter what people did in their own communities, if they tried to stop the indoctrination of children or the sexualization of children, the parents were being locked up. We've got a very corrupt system that's now finally being dismantled, and so that the people can start making a difference. As people helping people, it's up to us to help each other. It's up to us to protect the children and help the children. It's up to us all. So we've got such a corrupt system. The people are just shifting over here and creating their own ways of being able to help each other effectively. And at this point, since re-electing Donald Trump, we don't have any more obstructions. We don't have any more people being arrested for standing up for their children. We don't have any more of that going on. It's already starting to change because we don't have the obstructions in our way. Now it's up to us to move forward.
So what we will see in the next 4 years is whether or not he will actually, and maybe the next 8 years, you don't know how long he's going to be there, but I mean, we will see if he's a good guy that will help the world?
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, but I'm not going to do everything he says do. That's the thing. People got to think for themselves and rationalize and think things through. I am not going to go buy a McDonald's hamburger just because he was promoting it and saying, no way, I'm not eating that junk, So we need to start thinking for ourselves. This is about people taking back their power. He is empowering the people to take it back. He's not telling us how to live our lives. Politically, there's so many things I'm sure I will disagree with, just like I did the first time. But the fact is, we have been awakened. We are aware. We see that we share this planet with a very dark negative force that is attacking our children. And we had better wise up, wake up, and protect our children going forward.
That's absolutely the truth. But you will agree that they will use this strategy, this Hegelian dialectic situation to divide and conquer, and therefore it would be clever of them to put in a certain kind of player that could divide the growing truth movement even further, right?
Um, I don't know that it would be as much for division as it is for individual growth. We all need to be thinking individually and thinking free. So if free thought is restored to the people, where we are being told truth and being made face cold hard facts, we're starting to embrace truth that makes us free. We're expanding our thinking beyond what we've been manipulated to believe for so long. So it's not as much about division as it is about personal growth and personal evolution. So we've entered a new time in that regard. And, hopefully the whole world will continue to catch on to this and embrace their own truth again, remember who they are and why they're here, and start living life the way that it was intended, because it's on that level. When we remember that we unite, we naturally unite on that level. We can't be divided there.
That's what we're all working for, definitely. So
Yeah.
while we're doing it, we want clarity about what's really going on. That's why we must
Yeah.
dig deep into all layers and all of the possibilities that is going on. That's what we
Yes.
always do here, and it's important to really go deep when we talk about what's going on right now, because it's a crucial time. The times are changing. It's a very pivotal time in history right now, and also on the political scene with Trump and all that. So, but I mean, behind the scenes, there are these Illuminati bloodlines, and would you say that the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are on the top on the list of those 13 families, or what was your experience?
I would definitely think so, follow the money, because ultimately that's what's behind it, is this. How much money does one person need to have anyway? It doesn't make any sense, but it's a power thing, just like the sexual aspect. So, we need to consider that. And as they die off, who's next? We need to evolve with our knowledge that's our defense against mind control, and strengthen ourselves in living life as it's intended to be lived, instead of giving our power away and being manipulated. That is one of the most important things I think that I have found in people waking up, is they're remembering that, and it's beautiful. And then they get creative on, okay, well, how can we effectively help the children then and keep them out of the corrupt system? How do we keep them out of the hands of these perpetrators? And while everyone is being led to see, oh, who is on the Epstein flight log, who was in the Diddy tapes, we need to know who's holding those blackmail tapes. We need to go to the top. We need to find out who's holding them and why. Why are they having to blackmail people into doing something that they wouldn't normally do? That's that is a form of control and mind control that has to be considered. And it's something, you know, as the guard changes at the top of the, you know, puppet masters, we don't just replace them with more of the same. You know, this time we need to make sure that World War II is over. This time we need to not just import them to another place under another title and act like it's all okay, because it's not. This kind of manipulation against humanity is suppressing our natural development and our real purpose in being here.
But a lot of people, a lot of children, a lot of mind control victims were not as lucky as you were.
Right.
And they were not
Right.
able to get out of it. They were not able to deprogram and be able to speak on this as you've done, and you're still doing that. You've done this for so many years. But I mean, so it's like you're one of few people that are actually here to talk about it, even though more people are coming out, telling different but kind of similar stories. Like to get into a little bit of that as well. But do talk about your husband, who's no longer with us, Mark Phillips. How instrumental was he in your recovery and deprogramming, and what was your life like with him?
Uh, he's so amazing. He's an intelligence insider working the highest levels of intelligence mind sciences to preserve the sanctity of free thought. And he ultimately recognized it as a spiritual warfare, ultimately. And as the level of intelligence he was working, he could wear any hat: FBI, CIA, National Security Agency, Secret Service. He could be anything he needed to be. He was so high up in intelligence.
Was he?
And
Oh, he wasn't just FBI.
no,
He was CIA. He was NSA. All of
yeah,
it.
all of it. The Secret Service, all of it. And he was appalled to see mind control being used on so many levels and against the whole population and against a global population, to see how we were being manipulated through the media. And repetition is the most basic form of mind control, you know, and the repetitive media narrative is programming a global population. He was very alarmed at that. Most of all, he was disgusted to see people, innocent citizens, being targeted for MK Ultra mind control. People like me being used against my will and being tortured. People like my daughter, little children, being taken in and out of the White House. He saw all of that, and he was livid. He saw the blackmail pedophile operation compromising judges and people in positions of authority, and he decided to do something about it. He couldn't talk about it. He was bound by laws of sedition, but he could do something. So he lifted my daughter and me right out of the Washington, D.C. human trafficking swamp and handed me keys to my own mind. These keys to my own mind are birthright knowledge. It's important information that was suppressed under national security for generations, until people forgot that we have all the power, until we forgot that we have a resilient body, mind, and spirit. That took its generational toll, and we weren't passing that information on genetically anymore. And that concerned them very much. And instead, we were passing down this misinformation to follow these self-appointed, self-anointed leaders that we didn't elect, you know, that were ushering in their slave society agenda. So he took that information that he found suppressed under national security and handed me those keys to my own mind and let me know that I could heal. I could remember the things that I had been tortured to forget. My brain knew I was safe with him before I did, because I didn't even know there were good people in the world anymore when Mark came along. But my brain knew. The neuron pathways started opening up. Memory started leaking. And Mark told me, he said, write out your memory. The pen is mightier than the sword. And he said, use pen and paper to write out what you're seeing flashing in your mind. And that actually causes that the very act of moving a pen activates the logic, critical analysis part of the brain, because that's the part of the brain it takes to move a pen. So it takes emotionally incomprehensible information, opens neuron pathways in the brain as it shifts it over to the logic part of the brain, where it's written out on paper, consciously seen, and all of a sudden healing's happening psychiatrically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. It's all coming back to this one little simple brain hack of writing out the memory. And again, you know, how something is remembered is more important than what is remembered, because that deprograms everything. It opens those neuron pathways in the brain. Mind control needs them shut down. Free thought needs
So
them.
what triggered you? What triggered you to open up all this compartmentalization, all of these so-called rooms in the mind, all these compartments and the alters? You had different alters, you had different personalities, and probably different names for them as well. I mean, was he like some people say he was like a therapist, or working as like a therapist for mind control victims that were rescued from whatever they were in at the moment. What, I mean, how do you describe his ability? Or what did he do to you?
He has been described as a deprogrammer, when in fact he empowers people to deprogram themselves,
And that can
because
be
it's
done.
within us all to heal. Yeah. So right now, the simple methods I use that Mark taught me for healing are in PTSD Time to Heal. And those are up on my website at trance-formation.com for anybody to use. Everybody, everywhere needs to expand their thinking beyond what they think they know. Mind control masked as a virus exposed us all to a level of mind control that we need to heal from. And again, knowledge is our defense. And we have that ability within us all to heal, no matter what life has thrown at us.
Didn't you go to therapy or through therapy for years? Or was it just Mark that kind of guided you?
He showed me to write out my memory. He also told me to voice no negatives without a solution. And I spell that SOUL, solution, because if we're stuck in a dark place, even writing out negative memory or writing out our fears, writing out our trauma, whatever's immobilizing us, we're in this dark place writing it out. And then if we add a solution, we force our brains to think in a new way, to actually lift out of that dark space, to open more neuron pathways, to get us thinking in a whole new way that lifts us above the storm, so to speak, so we get a clear view forward and know how to move forward in life. So Mark taught me these little tricks to apply to myself. It was up to me to apply them. We can only help those who will help themselves, because we all have to heal. We can't heal for other people. They have to do it themselves. They have to heal from within. And it's so simple when we remember, because it's our birthright information.
But you certainly must have had a very special ability to do that, because a lot of people, it takes like years and years and years to deprogram and to retrieve all of the memories they've had. Some people get it like now, even though they've not been in the program for 20 years or maybe 30 years or something like that. So, I mean, you must have had a special ability to do it this fast, or are you still retrieving memories these days?
I'm not retrieving them now. I'm completely healed, but it took years. Yes, it does take a long time, and we have to be patient. Healing is not an event. It's a process. And even after healed, there's still more to learn and know. There's still things to have to cope with. The grief of losing Mark in 2017. I invented so many poems, just writing that out, just so that I could stay present and not be lost to the trauma and grief of losing him. And by doing that, I was able to make a choice to honor him every step of the way and stay strong in who I am with what he taught me, to continue our shared life's purpose of bringing information to light, because people need this information for healing now more than ever before. We've got an opportunity in front of us. The Great Awakening is happening, and people want to know the truth. They want to know their own truth. We have to know our own truth in order to discern truth around us. So this is an important time to choose to carry that forward.
And
So
you met him
instead
in
of
1985, am I right? And then you had like 10 years before you went public and before you released before you went public with Trance-Formation of America, right? Was it in 1985 he met you?
in 1988, he lifted my daughter and me out of the Washington, D.C.
Okay,
swamp.
88.
And by 1990, I was healed sufficiently to know my own truth and not be triggered, so that I could start speaking out on my daughter's behalf. It wasn't bitterness or hatred or fear of my abusers that compelled me to speak out. That's their vibration. They got enough of that from me. They're not going to get any more of that fear, that negativity, that hatred. No, I'm not going to. I'm focused on love for humanity. It was love for my daughter that compelled me to speak out, because she was caught up in the corrupted Child Protective Services.
And she was born into it, right? Your daughter, Kelly,
Yes,
born into this because you were a victim of it while you had your daughter, right?
yes. And then once Mark freed us from that, she was thrust into the Child Protective Services, and they took custody of her. And it was a nightmare trying to get her free from that situation. So that's what compelled me to speak out. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need validation from outside myself to know what was true.
Do tell the audience why supposedly all of the female children born to MK Ultra mind controlled slaves are named Kelly. What is that all about? We've heard that there's another famous victim, Bryce Taylor, who also had a daughter named Kelly, and I think you know her as well. I mean, what's that all about?
It was just something of the time. I think it had to do with some kind of a god or something. I don't know, something demonic. I don't know, but it was it was just something that we were told to do, and couldn't choose a name for our own baby. But Kelly has survived all of that. She's an amazing strength of spirit. She's a beautiful light. She doesn't speak out like I do because she's too busy living her life's purpose in her direction, enjoying nature, enjoying animals, breathing in the air, feeling the sun on her skin. She's just enjoying living her life that way.
So
whereas I'm still
recovered, actually. She did.
Absolutely. Recover. She's doing phenomenal. She's one more living proof that we all can heal from whatever life throws at us. And hers was a compound felony, from experiencing MK Ultra mind control, being lifted from that, and then being abducted into the Child Protective Services under the control of the FBI and that criminal aspect of society. And she still was able to heal after all that. She's an amazing person and lives the love she is purely. So we all have that capacity within us. And that's what we all need to understand, is that there's no excuse not to heal fully from whatever life has thrown at us, and deal with our past so that our past no longer intrudes on our present, so that we're free to move forward and live our life the way it was intended to all along, in light of love and purpose and strength of spirit. It's a beautiful way to get to live life, to choose to align with the divine and all the miracles that unfold as a result, to live in that synchronistic flow that life has when we're free to choose to attune to it. So there's so much beauty ahead for us all. And it begins with reclaiming our free thought.
So one important topic and an important thing to address, I think, is about speculation and rumors that we've heard. This is such an important topic. MK Ultra, mind control, is exposing that, understanding why they are doing that, and how it is connected to the implementation of the New World Order. We also know about the infighting and the truth movement. Sadly, there's a lot of people in this growing truth movement who think that a lot of people that are out there in public talking about these things are paid actors or well-controlled opposition and things like that. And it's not creating unity, it's creating division, divide and conquer, the Hegelian dialectic. And there's also been rumors, and I would love it if you would address this, rumors about other former mind control victims, Bryce Taylor and Arizona Wilder. I think Bryce Taylor's real name was Sue Ford. She wrote this book called Thanks for the Memories around the same time that you published Trance-Formation of America. And then there was Arizona Wilder, whose real name was Jennifer Green, I believe, who did this famous video with David Icke, also exposing some of the similar things you're talking about and also other things. But I think everything is complementing each other. And there are some differences, but there are also a lot of similarities. But we have heard that that there was some kind of infighting between all of you and you couldn't get along, and that you knew Bryce Taylor and Mark Phillips knew her, and then suddenly there was some friction between you and a fallout. And why was that? And can you maybe address that? And also, there's been some rumors in the past that Mark Phillips, who clearly helped you and transformed your life in the best possible way, that maybe he was actually still your handler because he was so high up in the intelligence services, the CIA, FBI, and NSA, and all of that. So please address these rumors in order to clarify all of this to the audience and eliminate some of those rumors. It would be great if we can just talk about this for a moment, if you're okay with that.
It's not for me to judge other survivors' experiences. Again, how they heal is more and how they remember is more important than what is remembered. And ultimately, all I want for everyone is to be able to heal fully, to live their love, to live their joy, to live their life's purpose, whatever that may be. And there's so many varying levels all along the way. I think that it's important to understand that once someone's fully healed from within themselves, they have a defense against mind control going forward. We evolve with the knowledge that's our defense against mind control.
But do you think she was fully deprogrammed, like this Arizona Wilder, Jennifer Green? And apparently Bryce Taylor's real name was Sue Ford. That's what she wrote in the book. She did interviews around the same time you did, and also said that you knew each other before there was some kind of a fallout with Mark Phillips. This is what was said back then. But they're now gone from the scene. Why?
No. I don't have any. It's not like a fallout. It's people's perceptions and what they say about different survivors, and it's not about us judging each other. We all have a piece of the puzzle to bring to the table, and those pieces of the puzzle are different in order to bring the big picture into view. Well, ultimately, if there can be division created among survivors, or that people say there's a division among survivors, then those pieces of the puzzle don't come together and the big picture doesn't come into play. So there's a force outside that is trying to create an illusion of division. They're also trying to create an illusion that no one can actually heal from mind control. And that illusion is so that people don't evolve with the knowledge that's our defense against it. And they're so afraid that people aren't going to remember who they are and why they're here, that they'll create any illusion they can to say, no, 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 can't heal from mind control. If you heal from mind control, then it's got to be this way or that. It's got to be with the help of a hypnotist or someone outside yourself. So there's just
or a psyop, and lots of, I mean, a lot of people speculate.
It's a psyop to divide. Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's a psyop to divide and say that healing can't
But
occur.
what you're saying right now is really profound. It's very important that you address this, because I don't know if it's been addressed. And I've speaking to so many people over the years, and I mean, it's like a lot of people say, well, Cathy O Brien is right. No, Bryce Taylor is right. This Arizona Wilder is still open,
We're all right. What if we're, and we all got our own piece, and that's so important. And I have spoke out on this a lot. I comment on it in social media a lot, and I blog about it. I put it on my podcasts on my website. I write constantly on how mind control applies to today, on different aspects of healing that people can apply, what is being done to divide the truth movement. And, we all in the truth movement, aside from the survivors, this aspect, like these podcasters, they got to create a division among them, because what if they bring pieces of the puzzle to the table and we see a bigger picture? The differences between us are beautiful, because we all gain from those differences. We all learn more. And that is ultimately what unites us. We don't need any more of this infighting division, because the division is what is being imposed on us to keep that big picture from
and people are doing the elitists' work. They're doing
yes.
They really are, but it's a huge problem, as in the truth movement, that there's so much division, and people who has the truth, and were there planes or holograms, or was it nanotech or directed energy weapons that took the towers down? And I mean, it's down to the small levels as well.
Yes.
And maybe it was all of it in combination. But I just think it's important, because there is a lot of, every time you're out there and you become sort of a public figure within this circle, even, then people will think, oh, it's a psyop, they're a psyop, or they are, what's that word they always use, that you are an implant, you are a plant,
infiltrator or something. Yeah, because sometimes if someone is healed, then that might tell someone else that they can heal, and they might not be ready for that at the moment, and it could just terrify them that they're going to have to face their own truth. And same thing in the truther movement. When they bring some truth to light, so maybe someone else is focused in a different direction, and your direction scares them, because then they're going to have to expand their thinking and look over there. So it's a lot of it's fear-based that keeps people from being able to accept differences and information.
But we have to be discerning. We have to be discerning.
We
about
have
it, right?
know our own truth. We know our own truth. We know truth around us. We can discern, and we have a strength to be able to embrace more than we think we can. Even Mark always said, people are smarter than they think. We do have much more capacity than we use, so let's expand it and not be brought down in a fearful mode that we're going to have to embrace something new.
Were you ever threatened by government officials for coming out speaking about this? I mean, this is certainly a very dangerous area, and you did it before the internet, when
yes.
Old-fashioned cameras putting up there, and I don't know how those videos circulated, but I guess a lot of us saw it when it was on the internet. So I mean that must have been a difficult. How did you cope with the scrutiny, and how did you cope with the fact a lot of people didn't believe your story or tried to debunk you, and speculation whether Mark was your handler because he was so high up, so you kind of continued to go in a certain direction spewing out false information. I mean, please just address some of all of that. How did your mental health sort of cope with all of that now that you were deprogrammed from the mind control?
I think the fact that um, my healing process involved falling in love with Mark. I fell so deeply in love with him. He was out, we were safe. He was handsome. He was intelligent. He was wise. Animals loved him. He always had pets all over him because animals know they have a strong sense. He was everything great, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me. He said, you got to heal first. You have to know who you are in order to have something to give in a relationship. And that was a huge motive for me to heal faster. That probably did accelerate my healing right there, because I had to find out who I am. I had to find out who I am, free of that outside influence of being told what I was. People told me, well, you have to love yourself. And it was like, how can I love myself after what I've done under mind control? And I told Mark, I said, I can't live with myself after what I've done. And he said, you're not responsible for what you're programmed to do under mind control. Your abusers are, and they need to be held accountable for their actions. But you are responsible for all your actions going forward because now you are aware. Now you are responsible for those actions. And I thought, wow, okay. So that's like having a clean slate. And I'm going to make sure everything I do is true to soul. Everything I do is out of love for humanity. Everything I do is in harmony with my life's purpose. And so that is how I found, who I am. I couldn't base it on other people's perceptions of me, or I couldn't even base it on what people did to me in the past. I could only base it on who I am at the base core energy of my being. And I found that energy to be love. So I decided to live the love I am. It's a whole lot easier than trying to love myself through daily affirmations or something, So I just live the love I am. And I found that strength there. It's an ability to align with the divine, to be able to stay in a constant state of that love and strength. So that gave me an ability to stay strong in who I am. Mark did not want me to be like him. He already knew himself, he didn't want a mirror of that. So he wanted me to heal completely first. And so I was 100% in who I am. He was 100% in who he is. We weren't 50-50. We are 100-100. And wow, we did not always agree. And it was beautiful when we didn't, because one of us got to learn something. And our differences also made it where we were a good balance for each other and capable of accomplishing even more. So it was no push-pull. It was an acceleration forward to be able to accomplish our life's purpose. I think that gave me a strength within where I didn't need other people to affirm my truth. I'm so strong in who I am. And it's like, as I got out and started speaking and people couldn't embrace the truth, it was like, oh my gosh, there are good people in the world. They're so pure. They can't even deal with this reality. They're this far on their learning path. They can't, catapult ahead to embrace my truth. So I will use it as seeds of truth planted, because truth never goes away. And as seeds of truth planted, they'll start seeing it. They'll realize, yes, our children are being sexualized. Yes, children are being trafficked and used in blackmail operations. Yes, there's drug and human trafficking across open borders. Yes, there is a corrupt faction of politics. And above all, yes, there is a dark negative energy force that we share this planet with. And we are going to have to face that reality so that we keep our vibration high and stop letting them meddle in our brilliant minds and lives anymore.
You certainly have a great amount of strength going through what you went through, also going public, with all of this. And
Yes.
I also get the feeling you were kind of shielded or shielded a bit while you were with Mark because you didn't do a lot of lectures in later years with him or interviews like you do now. It's like after he's gone, you've really kind of, can I say, maybe blossomed in a new way that you've gone out and done your own thing, talking way more than you did for years, right? Because I do remember trying to contact you in the past to get you on.
Mark and I spoke out globally. We spoke to huge groups. We accomplished a lot together, right?
In
Right
the
up
90s, right?
until,
In the 90s, and a bit also in the zeros or whatever you call it.
and we had a lot of support in the intelligence community. There are good people everywhere. There are good people in intelligence. There's good people in all walks of life, and the most
So they
sacred
did
place.
protect you. They did protect you a little
Yeah,
bit in the
yes,
intelligence community because
yeah,
Mark was still part of it, or did he have to like, I mean, because I was just asking before if you ever threatened not to talk about this, but he still had great, he was still part of it. He was still like had great contact in the
yes,
so you were safe.
yes. Yes, we were in some regards, but it was also a constant walking a very fine line so that we could survive to bring more truth to light. It was a very precarious situation. It's still a fine line to walk, but it's one that I don't fear because fear is their vibration, and I'm not going to stoop to that level. I'm just going to keep my vibration high. I'm not going to defend myself against psyop attacks. I have too much to accomplish going forward, empowering others to heal and empowering others to help the little children who have been trafficked to heal. So it's
And didn't it also kind of give you kind of a new scene, a little bit of a new stage when you got in contact with Roseanne and you did that lecture with her? I mean, that was kind of exposing it even wider, right?
in some ways there's been all different aspects. I first met Roseanne in 2008 at a Hollywood event that was exposing the child sex trafficking there. So that's phenomenal in itself. And then we just stayed friends all these years. So we still enjoy a friendship today and enjoy the reality that people are waking up to face a truth that for so many years they never did want to see, but they're ready for it now. They're ready to embrace that truth and start taking action and making a positive difference. The children can't wait for our system to clean up. They need people to do it now.
Certainly. In our remaining moments, what are your thoughts? What are your best possible advice for people? I know you talk about we have to, take back our power and go into our personal, truth and sovereignty and all that. But I mean, what can people do right now at this horrible time, really? But it's also a beautiful time, huh?
Yeah, it's within us all to heal. That's the most important thing, is that we can all just pick up a pen and paper and start writing out whatever's immobilizing us, write out our grief, write out our fear, our trauma, our guilt, whatever it is, and then add a solution and rise above all that. Start thinking in new ways on what we can do, because we do have so much power within us. We can take this simple trick, this simple brain hack of writing by hand, and put it back in the school system. And that will stop the indoctrination of our children. It will teach them how to think again, instead of them being programmed what to think. So there's so many, simple things that we all can do. The methods that Mark taught me, those that I continue to apply and use today, are in PTSD, Time to Heal, and it's posted on my website, right where everyone can have it, with a pay what you can if you can option. So everyone has it now when they need it most. We all need it. We need to expand our thinking beyond controlled media. We need to expand our thinking beyond the fear and realize that we do have all the power. And when we reclaim that free thought, we have our strength of spirit, and that's where we all unite. United, we are stronger. United, we get to live with love and compassion. And ultimately, that's how life is intended to be lived.
Absolutely. That's very beautiful. And can you just mention your website again, or how people can maybe learn more about you or get in contact with you?
Yes, they can go to my website at trance-formation.com. That's TRANCE hyphen formation.com. My books are there. Links to my Audible books, which I read myself to preserve the integrity of information, are there. My blogs are there. You can contact me through there. Everything's there at trance-formation.com.
There's so much more I'd like to talk to you about. There's a lot of topics we didn't get to discuss. And I still have a lot of questions also about what's going on in the world right now and what will happen in the future, about the woke agenda, the climate change agenda, and all of those things. And it would be wonderful to have you back for a part 2 at some point. We would absolutely love that. So I hope we can do that. But for now, it's been such a joy and such a pleasure to get to know you and to hear your story and to address a lot of really important topics. And I want to thank you very much for being on Age of Truth TV, Cathy O Brien.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Great conversation. You're amazing. I love the way you I love the way you keep things flowing. You're brilliant.
Thank you so much for that, Cathy.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Huh?
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Cathy O Brien, and thanks to all of you for watching Age of Truth TV. You can support us by clicking onto our website, ageoftruthtv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website, ageoftruthtv as well. Please also subscribe to our alternative channels on BitChute and Brighteon. Your support is greatly appreciated and very needed. And on behalf of the Age of Truth TV team, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.